Okay, we're in the Maamar Korov Hashem L'Chol Korov, and we're on page 214. The previous Rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, teaches us here the idea that the Golos Mitzrayim Beruchni is a spiritual concept of exile is that the Nefesh Abamis and the Yetzer Hara they attack the person with all kinds of arguments, and he spoke about the idea of someone who has a Teva Ra and a Teva Tov. Teva Ra means a bad nature, Teva Tov means a good nature. And we discussed this yesterday at length. And if you observe situations, you can decipher who has Teva Ra and who has Teva Tov. Now that's at least in certain areas. I must say that the Rebbe also, there's different discourses where he discusses the idea that sometimes you can't tell, because on the outside a person might seem one way and inside they're very different. He calls this Helam Hara, concealed bad, concealed evil. The discussion is that although in practice the person is good, is doing good things, it doesn't yet mean that there isn't an area inside that's really, really bad and needs tikkun. So it's like I said yesterday, it's a balancing act. It's not always what you see. What you see is the reality. At the same time, if a person displays certain behaviors and you pay attention carefully, you could pick up. So it's a delicate issue, and the best thing is not to be judgmental. Have it done is called Old Mikvah, So this would apply to ourselves. Look, for ourselves, it's not done other than Mikvah. Although the Holy Chafetz Chaim said self-deprecation is a form of Lashon Hara. And like I quoted yesterday, the Hayoim Yoim, just as it's as great as it is to know your deficiencies, it's even more important to know your strengths and virtues, your milas. However, a Yid needs to constantly be checking himself or herself. The idea that we know who we are, and we know this, and we know for sure this, and we know that's not a Yiddish attitude. It's not a good attitude. Yes, self-confidence, self-esteem, but we have to always remember that why is self-confidence and self-esteem important? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be healthy with good self-esteem and self-confidence. So if it's all because of Hashem, of God, you have to always revert back to God. And what does God say? That a person should constantly be on guard. The Alter Rebbe in chapter 27 of Tanya quotes the Pirkei Avos, Lokach notzarto. He says over there, if a person says, why is it that after such work and such effort that I toiled all my years in serving God, and I still have a nefesh abamis, a yetzer hara that bothers me, that shows that I didn't really mean it. The Alter Rebbe says over there that that's a mistake in thinking, because only a tzaddik is someone who doesn't have a battle with the Yetzer Hara, but everyone else does. So if you are upset that you're still having a battle with the Yetzer Hara, then you're basically considering yourself a tzaddik, and says the Alter Rebbe, that's really arrogant. None of us then. Rather what? You have to know that you're a Beinani, a potential Beinani. And a potential Beinani not struggles because it's a nebuch. I have a struggle. Says the Alter Rebbe, embrace the struggle. Lokach notzarta. We were created for the purpose of struggle. They say that the Frierdiker Rebbe was always a Bal Chayv. He always was in debt. And he once said, I heard this from the Rebbe, he once said that why? Because being always in debt didn't let him rest. He had to constantly cover the budget. And it's so true. When we kind of finish something, like Moshe, let's say you're working for months on a piece of art and you finish. So on one hand, there's a sense of completion. There's a sense of wholesomeness. On the other hand, you probably ask yourself, you should ask yourself, is what's next? Because if you don't, you'll sit on your loins waiting for the phone to ring or the customer to come in, and meanwhile, you're not producing. Says the Rebbe that my father-in-law never wanted to be in that position, so he was always a Bal Chayv. So he always had the fire burning under himself to cover the budget. You can never sleep, you can never rest. It sounds like a Rebbe needs that too, right? You're probably wondering, a tzaddik needs to have that? The answer is yes. Because the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu filters the energy to everyone, including tzaddikim, in Olam Hazeh, in this world is that Teva is zera stark. Nature is very powerful and strong and sets in. And everyone in their different ways. So for a tzaddik, it's setting into his avodah. And for us, it's in another way. So therefore, to avoid what we call in English complacency, you need to have the fire burning and realizing there's a fire burning and that you cannot stop. You have to go. And that this doesn't mean to say you shouldn't take a vacation and all that. But as we discussed, when you go on vacation, your mindset is, how am I going to spiritualize that experience too? So it's all about avodas Hashem, And it's not about not taking a walk with your wife or not going with your son or daughter to a pizza store or the bowling alley. All that is very important. But everything should have a nakuda of achdus Hashem, of God's unity, of godliness that permeates whatever you're doing. So going back to what we're learning now.
Rabbi?
Yes.
As far as the nature of a person, is this, pardon me, does this have to do with what the Mishnah says, ayin tova and leiv tov?
I say a little more. I'm not following your. I hear, but I don't understand. Go ahead.
The nature of a person is one who has a good nature or a bad nature.
Yeah.
So one who has an ayin tova, so it speaks a lot about it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. You were referring back. I thought you were referring to what I'm saying now. Yes. The ayin tova, the leiv tova has to do with the nature. So why am I mentioning this now? Why am I saying this here? Because we're talking about this idea of recognizing, knowing ourselves and looking and asking ourselves, is my teva teva tov or teva ra? Now, so the truth is, too much of this analysis is very unhealthy and shouldn't be done. It's not, because it could bring morbidity and bitterness, and it's not helpful to being a happy person, a successful person. At the same time, Chazal give us times which are set for Cheshbon HaNefesh. Thursday night before Shabbos, Erev Rosh Chodesh, the month of Elul, the month of Tish, the Yom Neiroim, the Seres Yemei Tshuva. There are times, and this is a healthy approach where a person balances themselves, and that's why I just can tell you what I saw by the Rebbe, because I spent so many years observing his behavior and learning from his talks and learning from him. That at the same time, in a Farbrengen, where he could be clapping with his hands and making so, and he was so besimcha, and a few minutes later, in the next talk, he breaks down and he can't talk when he's speaking about Russian Jews who are still can't get out, or that the Mashiach is not here, or that someone was murdered, chas v'sholem. Like, how do you go from extreme to extreme? The answer is that's real. That's real. We aren't robots. Today we've been trained to be robots. Don't react, don't cry, don't laugh, don't this, that, who's looking, what's going on, v'chulu, v'chulu. It's been proven. It's been proven over and over. I can tell you from personal experience. The best way is being emes. That's it, real. And let the chips fall wherever they fall. People are walking around with such a facade, and I mean our own people, us, I'm saying, everyone, that to break the stereotype, it's like you're the bad guy because everyone else is living the reality, and it's just the opposite. Everyone else is living the bluff, and you're living the reality. So I'm saying this because, on one hand, what the Rebbe is saying in this paragraph is like, bread and butter. It's pretty simple. It's straightforward. It's not really, right? You could say it's not really Hasidus. It's Pirkei Avos. It's Musar. It's basic Judaism 101. True. Like Yaakov quoted the, Ayin Tov, Lev Tov, and all that. True. It's true. But Chassidus, Taras Baal Shem Tov, and by the way, today is the Arizal's Yartzeit. Hey Menachem Ov. And the Arizal is what we consider the modern day codifier of Teiras HaKabbalah. Now, why do I say that? Because Kabbalah, we believe, goes back to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the zera, Kodesh, and all that. And then, for centuries, it was studied privately. It was studied in different countries. There were the Italian Mekubalim, French Mekubalim, etc., etc. And then there were North African Mekubalim. And the various schools of Kabbalah had different kind of shittas, different approaches. Okay? And the Rashas, Shalom Sharabi, these are, very different type of teachings. And just because you belong to one group of Mekubalim or learned one group's teachings didn't make you knowledgeable in another group. It was different, like different Masechtas, different tractates of Gemara. Okay? I heard once that the Rebbe asked a great Mekubal, Rabbi Schlesinger of Yerushalayim, back in the 50s, I heard that he asked him to teach him ideas from the Rashas, from Shalom Sharabi. Now I'm what?
Rav Shalom Shashun. Rashas in the back of the Gemara, huh?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the Rashas of Kabbalah. I'm not talking about the Rashas of the Gemara. I'm talking about the Rashas. Rav Shalom Sharabi is called the Rashas Makubal. And the Rebbe wasn't, it seemed like wasn't familiar or very familiar with those teachings for whatever reason. I'm telling you what I heard, so I can't verify it, what I heard. And he asked Rabbi Schlesinger, who seemed like was, to teach him or share those ideas. All I'm saying is that there are different schools of thought of Kabbalah. Then came along the Ramak. Rav Moshe Cordovero was buried in Tzfas. And Rav Moshe Cordovero systemized Kabbalah. Rav Moshe Cordovero is the first one who systemized Kabbalah. Nevertheless, it was still Kabbalah. Kabbalah is abstract. So then came along the Arizal, HaChai. You know, we call Arizal HaChai, the Living Arizal, right? The first ones who called their tzaddik Chai weren't the Lubavitchers with certain Lubavitchers with Lubavitcher Rebbe. They already called the Arizal HaChai. The Living Arizal, after he passed away, they called him Arizal HaChai. Anyway, so the Arizal, what did he do? He elaborated on the system of Kabbalah. In other words, not only did he give you the pipelines, the you know, this level is this level and this level is this level, but within a Kabbalistic system, he elaborated more on those ideas. So that's why the Arizal became known as the father of what I called earlier the modern day Kabbalah. What do I mean modern day? I mean to say the Kabbalah of the last 500 years. Now, not everyone went along with it. And that's a discussion and a shir for itself, you know, to talk about that. I don't want to go there right now. But today is the Arizal's yahrzeit, and the Arizal is the one who revealed to us many of the Kfarim where they are in Eretz Yisrael. The Arizal was born in a house in Yerushalayim, in his basement. I was there. It used to be open to the public. They made a museum over there. And his bris was in that house. And that's why the HaChai HaKadosh, when he came from Morocco, he settled in the same house. And I believe the street that it's on in the old city, in the Rova, is called the Rehov Or HaChaim, I think. Right? Oh, so I see that Avi, the expert, says I'm right. So Baruch Hashem, my memory is still working. Baruch Hashem. I was there, Avi, and I was there the first time before they renovated, and I love nostalgia, and I loved it then. They let me go in. The Weingarten family owns the property, or owned the property. There was a dispute for years, but somehow I was able to get in, and I was there, and I was able to still see the old mikvah. Now they have just a little window and they show, but when I went in there probably about 20, 25 years ago, it was fascinating. It was there were things there they told me that looked like and felt like still from the time of the Arizal and the Or HaChaim. Avi, were you ever there before they renovated?
I was there a long time ago. My first visit in Israel was 1967.
Oh boy!
And then I was there numerous times until I finally made Aliyah. First time in 1970, and the second time in 1991.
And
I don't remember well. It was. I remember dark furniture in a room that was a Beit Knesset or a Beis Medrash or something.
Yes, I remember that.
Dark furniture. That's about, I haven't been there a very long time. I give my clients a list of options, and they pick it. I don't pick it for them. And if they ask me, I tell them.
Another thing they had there, Avi, if you remember, they had on the wall hanging the proclamations from 100 years ago, 150 years ago. I saw those proclamations from when the Kaiser came. They have proclamations there. I don't know if they're there today. Maybe they're in the museum part. Now today they already renovated, so to me it's lost its authenticity. It's like I can't stand when they do that. They take the original and they just renovate it. Anyway, today is the Arizal's Yortzeit. The Arizal passed away at a very young age, but because of his Talmud, Reb Chaim Vital, we have the Shemayin Sharim, the Kisvi Arizal, and we have, Baruch Hashem, so many Svarim that really help Yidden of all kinds, from reincarnation in the Shara Gilgulim and Sefer Al-Gilgulim, to the Pirush Arizal, L'Kutei Torah on the Parsha. So today is a special day to be mispalel, to give tzedakah, and to learn something from the Arizal. So just talking about it is also important. Now let's go to the text to try to finish the Maamar. We are V'yetzias Mitzrayim. Remember, the last part we learned, Moshe, which you could share with the family this Shabbos, is that Avodah Zera spiritually means an Avodah, an activity, Zera, that is foreign to you. It's not really what you should be doing. If you're a sefer and you're an artist, and all of a sudden you decide to go and paint cars, it's avodah zara lach. It's foreign to you. It's not what you're supposed to be doing or doing. Now, then there's avodah zara where people get involved in strange things. You know who you are. So that's the taich avodah zara. So we are now on page 214, about 7-8 lines from the bottom. In the middle of the page, after a period, it says Vitzias Mitzrayim. Vitzias Mitzrayim hu hasoras hameitzev hakvul. What does it mean to leave Egypt, Exodus? It is to vacate limitations and small, narrow-mindedness. Meitzar. V'hainu das seichel sheba moyach meir belev. This is, how does this happen? When the brain when the intelligence within the mind illuminates the heart, causing it to have midas tovas, good character, but poel mamash in actuality, that's Yetzias Mitzrayim. Okay? You want to know what Yetzias Mitzrayim is? The seichel should function properly to inspire the heart to have nice midos. Right? Again, and Yoini, why is that Yetzias Mitzrayim? Because Mitzrayim is limitations. Mitzrayim is a blockage. The mind, the cup, is blocked, is jaded. And what Yetzias Mitzrayim is to vacate the jadedness and sluggishness of the mind, so the mind functions well, and well in the sense that it inspires and teaches the heart that this is proper to serve Hashem in a particular way, etc. And therefore, you, the heart, should act upon it with good midas. He brought earlier in the Maamar the pasuk, know Hashem your Father. The inyan hamokas adasu is kashrus. What does it mean? Da. Da means delving deeply into the situation with your mind. That's how you connect. You want to connect to someone? a spouse, a child, a friend, an employer, a situation. You need to develop your das so much so and understand it deeply, and then you will feel, you will have iskashrus, you will be connected. Look what he says in Yiddish. As the Kopf und der Herz, that the head and the heart, sollen sein verbunden willifel. They should be joined, united, and impactful. What we're suffering from many times is a breakdown, a separation of moyach and lev. So the moyach can be swimming in gewaltige thoughts. It has no connection to the lev. When you have iskashrus Yaakov, when you come to a point where you understand it so deeply, it leaves the realm of just understanding and it becomes focus and concentration, which automatically leads to a midah tova balev. And then what?
This is what the Navi Malachi says. It says in Haftarah to say we should have a leiv busser instead of a leiv evan.
Yes, vasiroisi leiv busser. Right. It's back to the text. Who ba'avoda b'lev sholem. The next part, Avi, of the verse is Da es Elokei avicha va'avdeu b'lev sholem. Know Hashem, your Father, and serve Him with a complete heart. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, how will you accomplish va'avdeu b'lev sholem? When you'll have da, when you have das, Yoini, when you have iskashrus, connection, then you have leiv sholem. And this is true in ourselves, and it's true in relationships. You want to succeed in relationships? Improve your da. V'zeu pulas moyach hadas, says the Rebbe, this is the impact of the chamber of das within the person, the hasoga sheba moyach hevi tovi avoda poel toiv, that my comprehension of my mind should lead to an activity of good. V'zeu Korov Hashem l'chol Korov. We began the Maamar. Hashem is close to all those that call Him. Heina koidim el Hashem meirov toiv. His question was, why the repetition, Yonason? So he says now, it's not repetition. Korov Hashem l'chol Korov. Chevro, you say this in Ashrei every day, so listen so you can think about it. When you daven, refers to all those that serve Hashem mereiv toiv. They have an abundance of good. Good health, good parnasa, good shidduchim, good children. It's good. So they call to Hashem. Then comes the second category. 1 second. V'heina koidim el Hashem, and also those that call Hashem mereiv tsar v'yisurim chas v'sholem. Then there is those that call to Hashem because they have trouble and pain and suffering. God forbid. How can they call Hashem? It's not so rosy begashmias because they're calling Him through Torah. And when you call Him through Torah, it supersedes the tzaras you have. Says the Rebbe, by setting aside times to learn Torah, then Hashem is close to all those that call Him, to be mashpia to Him, them shefa bracha v'atzlocha. Now, what he didn't address clearly, at least I don't... Oh, yes, he did. So, what's the second part of that? Korov Hashem l'chol koirav l'chol asher yikra'u be'emes. He brought the whole Gemara, ein emes ela Torah. And that's his answer. That's his answer, Avi. That whether you Korov Hashem l'chol koirav, you call to Hashem because things are going well, so therefore you recognize Hashem and you thank Him and you call Him, or even if things are difficult, you call to Hashem because you're going through emes. Korov Hashem l'chol asher yikra'u be'emes. And this is so important because especially after the three whammies that we got with Miran and Kiryat and Givat Zev and then in Surfside, Nebuch, so many Yidden lost their lives and everything else, the only way you can get through it is ve'emes, through Torah. You'll say that I don't have an answer to my question. You're right. Who says God's about questions and answers? If He decides, He gives you an answer. Be happy that you got an answer. But in truth, He doesn't have to answer you, because He's not about questions and answers. He transcends that. Torah is transcendental. And when a Yid will immerse himself in Torah, you're able to overcome. So you're probably wondering, so what's the chiddush? Like, a big deal. I need the Frierdiker Rebbe to say it. Well, Chevra, you should know that the Frierdiker Rebbe, by him, it wasn't only lip service. He lived through it. He lived through Stalin from 1920 to 1939. He dealt with Stalin's terror, and he survived. And then he deals with the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, and then he comes to America, and he deals with inner opposition from other communities, and he's a very broken, ill person. So when he writes this, whether it's in the 20s, 30s, or 40s, he lived it. It wasn't, so he could say that even though a person has tsar and a person has difficulty, you go with Torah and you go with strength. And the result is, you see, here's another point, and I conclude, that he didn't look at it, it's about him. He knew that he's, ill, and he went through all these difficulties, but he saw a future. So a real leader, and we're all leaders, you have to look at the future. And not be, so self-focused that if I don't do it, I don't care. There are people that say, if I don't do it, forget it. No, you have to make sure that the next generation, a generation after, will continue and not only survive but thrive. And the Rebbe did that. People say, why didn't the Rebbe leave a successor? I don't know why. But one thing I want to tell you is that those hundreds and hundreds of Sfarim that the Lubavitcher Rebbe left, from the Kuti Sichas to Maamar to the Igros Kodesh, and all those people that study it and teach it and know it and all that, you can live for the next 1,000 years. Now, Chas v'Shalom, we want Mashiach, and we're going to have Mashiach ASAP. But the Nekuda is that the Rebbe did spend 42 years teaching Klal Yisrael, And what did he say? That famous Sikha, he said, I've done everything I can to bring Mashiach, now it's up to you. So right away there was despondency. How could the Rebbe say that? What we didn't realize, and what we still need to think about, is what he was saying is, guys, I taught you for 42 years. It's time. You're no longer babies. Stand on your own feet, take the material, and march with it, and use it. So yes, the nature of Hasidim is to have a Rebbe and a living Rebbe and all that. So we want that and all that. We're not contradicting the basic tenets and ethos of Hasidic Judaism as taught by the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. But nevertheless, maybe for right now, the Rebbe is saying, I'm making each one of you, Yoini and Avi and Yoinison and Moshe and myself, little Rebbes. We're all little Rebbes. You have to look at yourself as a little Rebbe. So if you're a little Rebbe, you have a big responsibility.
Yoini's a little Rebbe. He lost weight.
He lost weight, so he's a little Rebbe? Is that what you said?
Yeah, but he's less than he weighs. Rabbi Talton.
Yes.
With your permission, the Chlod, the Yortzeit, wants to read just a couple of lines from Shari Kedusha, Reb Chaim Vital, on his Rebbe.
Please.
He says, Ki ani kibalti mipeh ish kadosh malach Hashem tzvakot mori ha'ari luria. It's already telling how he related to his rabbi. I have people, when I guide, they say, my rabbi tells a good joke, or he's good in raising money in the shul. To say that I got from Ish Kadosh, Malach Hashem, I don't have anybody telling me that that's the rabbi back home. And then he says in Hakdama, Amar HaTzagir Chaim ben Kvod Harav Yosef Vital. So Reb Chaim Vital says, Ra'iti b'nei aliyah v'hein muatim mishtokikim lalot v'asulam nit'alem me'enehem. So we're talking about a person who is one of a select person, a few, who in the short years that he had did phenomenally in terms of, as you said, he's the Abba of modern halacha. Agalet tefach v'akaseh alpayim ama ve'eftach b'dochach sharei hakdusha kemachat tztakim umi sheyeh ra'ui yizkeh likanes lefnei ulefnim.
Wow. Thank you. Well, with that note, we end the shir on a high. L'chaim, everyone, have a great day. Enjoy. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem. Akron Achem Chaviv. Bye-bye.